Tim also was asking about draft inducers. He was asking specifically about like a variable speed fan as a draft inducer, and that, you know, this is something we've covered quite a bit, not specifically, but just draft and how important it is, and different ways to induce draft, in particular when lighting a stove, or in a situation like Pete has where he just has a ton of radiator. And so, as you guys know, I like to use passive methods whenever possible. So that's why my stove designs all have bypasses, so we can manipulate that draft and induce draft at any stage of the burn. Fans work great. If you have a layout that has a long bench and you want your exhaust at the end of the bench, a fan will absolutely get the job done. The reason that you know, I typically will recommend against them has nothing to do with the performance, and only just a desire to try to build a stove that's going to work when your power is out and in all conditions, and, you know, without too much, you know, it hopefully doesn't require too much of a skilled operator to run, although you know, that's impossible. We can't take the operator out of the stove. I've tried for years, but it always requires some knowledge and skill on the part of the person running the stove. A fan just kind of exacerbates some of those things, but most importantly for me is the idea that for many people the wood heat is usually a secondary source of heat, and it's one that becomes really important when power goes out, or, you know, for whatever reason there's other conditions that, you know, that make a fan not possible. Now, every individual can make that decision for themselves. Maybe you're off grid and have solar and you have batteries and a little DC fan. Doesn't take much juice, no big deal. Maybe you don't mind turning the fan on and off. Maybe you love the challenge of thermocouples and engineering a system that has an automatic fan or something like that. So there's no wrong way to do it. It's just something that I would recommend, you know, if you can, seeking other alternatives. But it's a fine way to go, and it will absolutely work. Now, with that said, another way to do that draft, and we've talked about this as well, is if you have your chimney at the end of the bench, you can build a little clean out at the bottom of the chimney, a place where you can build a small priming fire, and you can use just a small paper fire, typically, sometimes maybe with a little bit of solid fuel to make it go a little longer, but in that way you can also induce draft. Challenge there is that you need to give it some oxygen, and now you're sort of affecting, you know, the draft at the firebox by introducing a place for it to pull in air earlier. So it can be a challenge. You know, you can light a fire down there, but then you shut the door tight, and then you get draft in the front, but now your draft inducing fire is going out because it doesn't have oxygen. So that one can be finicky, but it can get you over the hump.